Bienvenidos a otro episodio, a un nuevo episodio de ¿Qué Show?
Sí.
Con nuevas cheves, nuevos temas, nuevo lugar.
Ah, sí, güey. Nuevo estado, güey.
No me di cuenta.
No estoy en mi último lugar. Sí, güey.
Pero los mismos de siempre, bro. Andrés, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo ha estado tu día?
Mi día. Está bien, güey. Estamos bien aquí. Ya es el segundo día entero que técnicamente vivo aquí contigo.
Shit.
Tucson.
Roomies.
Sí, güey. Está verga, güey. Hicimos un little hike, güey. Nos agarró la lluvia, güey. Pero that didn't stop it, you know. Kept us alive. Sí, güey, todo bien. ¿Tú qué onda?
Muy bien, bro. I'm really excited that you're here. Siempre hemos hablado sobre la idea de vivir juntos.
Mm-hmm.
Y aunque no soy como súper oficial de que you have your lease.
Yeah.
You know, you have your contract, pero, you know, crashing the pad for a couple of weeks, maybe months.
Sí, güey. Sí, la idea es, I sort of decided to move out and be more of a, there's a word that people call this, like, moving around, like a nomad, right? Mm-hmm. Es como te mueves acá un chingo, just hopping around from place to place. And I feel like this is a good opportunity in my life just based on all the different things that are happening to just do it. And I even want to try living, like, at a point where I don't necessarily have a place where I'm just, like, camping, like, for extended periods of time. That's the goal, pero...
Vivir en camping, hostel,
pues sí,
como en tu carro, como...
Como de eso de que cada día te la averiguas, güey.
Oh, qué divertido.
Sí, güey, como pues, like, I'll have the tent and I'll have the car. So if like, I'll always have that. Mm-hmm. So there won't be anything to worry about, because I'll have a place to stay. Just wherever I'm at, I can set up a tent. I mean, obviously, I can't do it in certain cities, but I'm planning on going through California and just the whole coast, way. Hay un chingo de spots that you can just set up tent or sleep in your car, and you're waking up next to the beach. Like, you're not, like... No se me hace como una vida mala, güey.
No, qué
despertarte, güey.
Pero tienes que estar muy cómodo con no tener ciertos commodities, ¿no?
Oh, sí, güey.
Mucha gente le tiene miedo a eso, al pues no tener a place, per se, a specific place, a specific home.
Yeah.
I think a big thing people think of is like, how are you getting paid? Do you have income? Are you just like homeless?
There's a lot of uncertainty, right? And we humans like certainty. We like to know what's happening. We like to have control, right? So I think I mentioned this before, but there's a communication theory called uncertainty reduction theory, and it states that the only reason people communicate to each other, the only reason, this is the theory, or the main reason, is because we want to feel less certain, more certain. We want to be more certain about how the world around us is functioning or how it works. So, for example, this theory says, I only talk to you because I want to gain more information about how you and generally people act. So I know how you're going to react when I talk to you. Like, I know you're not going to do a triple backflip and punch me in the face.
No me conoces, güey.
Well, no, exactly. If you did, it would fucking shock me, right? That's when people do shit, and I was shocked when they, you know, I didn't know they could sing, because you build a certain role for people. So this theory can explain that. Like, people, like, that's why real estate and like that business, or I guess what would you call it, a market?
Market,
yeah, exists. Like, it's like people want to have a place where they can know for a fact that that's where they're gonna be. They can put all their shit there. They can sleep there, and no one can take that space away. It's like people will pay a lot of money for just a place, right? And people will charge a lot of money to let someone else feel certain about where they're gonna sleep that night. Yeah, it's a luxury a lot of people don't have, and I am challenging myself to strip it away on purpose.
Pero no lo harías por toda tu vida, o...
Probably not. Yeah, probably
not. Es más
not.
como por una experiencia. You're extremely young.
Sí, pero mucha gente lo hace, o sea, por años, güey.
Yo he conocido en mis viajes un chingo de mochileros.
Ándale.
Conocí un vato en Italia. Su nombre es Kais, creo que se llama. Shout out. No creo que me conozca ya. Ni me hacen la vida.
Ese güey tiene un podcast, güey, que te mencionó a ti, güey. Y tú mandándole a la verga. El Jorge me cambió la vida.
Saludos. Este vato lleva años haciendo travel en bicicleta, güey, por toda Europa.
Sí, eso está cabrón.
Y todavía en cura porque en Italia se le descompuso la bicicleta. And he had to figure out how to weld it or whatever. Y en la bicicleta tenía todo, güey. Sus camping gear, su mochila, una hielera, comida. It was pretty intense. He was like, he filmed his whole trip, so he had camera gear. And he would just tell me stories how he would like, since he's pedaling on the highway or freeway, a veces dice, ni pedo on the side of the road. He sets up camp, sets up tent, güey. It's crazy, que a veces lo han corrido. Sí, pues, pero pues es la vida de un... Lo conocí en un hostel, so he does have a bed. But...
Sí, güey.
Hay raza que lleva años así, vive cómoda.
Sí, o sea, sí se puede, porque... Y por eso lo quiero hacer, porque sé que se puede y sé que se puede vivir bien. Como, it's a trade-off, like I'm giving up certain things, like you said, and your friend did too. Pero it's... You get a little bit more, you get something out of it. I think I'll get something out of it. I think I'll get, like, certain liberties. I'll feel a little bit more free just being able to go and not have the commitment of staying in one location. I think that's a cool thing to have. Mucha gente no, le he dicho esta idea como familia o gente así que no piensan igual y está bien, o sea, no todos, y a lo mejor a mí no me gusta, quién sabe, no lo he hecho. Pero lo pienso y se me hace como una buena idea o como algo que me gustaría. So, I just want to give it a shot.
¿Y qué es lo peor que pasa? Que no te gusta y regresas a un apartamento.
Sí, güey, ándale. Sí, hay hoteles en cada ciudad, güey. Si me cago el primer día, güey, voy al hospital.
Wishful thinking, eh? Yeah. From the get-go.
Sí. I know the rock bottom. Como dicen, everything else is just up from here.
There you go, yeah.
No, pero quería decir, I can just stay at a hotel, fucking Airbnb. And eventually just make it back here. I'm sure you'll have a couch. Hopefully you're my safety net.
Got you, fam. There's this website called Couchsurfing. It's lost popularity. I was in Italy y dije yo, aquí chingué Couchsurfing. Sí, para los que no saben lo que es Couchsurfing, es como un tipo Facebook where you create your profile, your interest, what you can contribute as a human, and if you're looking for a place to stay or if you can host. And hosts will basically just lend you their couch for a night or whatever, how long you want. Mm-hmm. Y no trade-off, nomás es dormir. Se supone que if you want to pay them, págales con una comidita, unas chevecitas, pero no se cobra. Sí. Tengo un primo que hizo couchsurf en sus viajes y ahora hace couchsurf the host. So he'll vive en Ensenada, shout out a Lector, and he'll bring people in to his home and he'll like teach them how to surf. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So maybe that's an option.
Sí, ajá, como todo eso se puede. Como there's enough shit around that would be a safety net in that case. And we did couchsurfing, and I remember we had a great time, dude, in Canada. I wish I remember the dude's name.
Ni yo, güey. A lo mejor si me meto el profile. Pero
sí, ahí está. Sí, cierto. Pero exacto, se la rifó, güey. I remember we stayed with him, what, 2 nights?
2 nights.
2 nights. We watched a documentary con este güey. He explained, like, the Canadian political sort of atmosphere at the time. This was back in 2017, I think? 2016?
Yeah, 16, I think, because... No, 17.
17. Yeah, we're up in Canada, Montreal. It was nice. Shout out to Canada, even any Canadians watching. Hopefully that dude is watching.
Yeah, dude, if you are...
You did us a
No, but he did, because we were at a hostel the first night in Montreal. And then we were like, I was like, Andres, let's try this. Sí, this is cool website. Sí, and you're like, no mames. No pasa nada, nomás vamos a dormir ahí. Sí, en su sofá, no pasa nada. And you're like, fuck, you're game. You're like, fuck it down. Y ya llegamos a su casa y I immediately was like, no, Jorge, ¿qué estás haciendo? Así mueres.
Sí, esa era tu primera, like, your first experience on couchsurfing también, ¿verdad? Yeah.
Dije, así empiezan las películas de terror, 2 huerquillos acá. Vamos a viajar. Sí, y se mueren porque you're staying at someone's house. Pero no, nos soportó a toda madre, nos llevó a, gave us a tour of Montreal, how, like, the government works there, how the city works there.
Had poutine that night.
We had poutine.
Poutine was nice, dude.
Poutine is basically potatoes with cheese.
French fries, güey, desmadre arriba, güey. Sí. I had different ones, but that's like the drunk food, como I imagine, just going out on the bars and then ending up at a poutine.
Pues no te acuerdas, güey, salimos a comer poutine, nos llevó ese güey, y había un chingo de raza como ya toda pedida after the bars, güey, and we were like, this is the place to be.
Es como las carne asada fries acá de...
Yeah. De Canadá, exactly, yeah. There's no comparison, but that's the closest thing.
Sí, exacto.
¿Ya has tenido tu primera cruda del año. Estamos en marzo, vamos para abril.
Sí, güey.
¿Ya has tenido tu primera cruda?
No creo, güey, ¿no?
¿No?
No, pues yo
Te
no
felicito,
me importa así, güey.
Te felicito.
¿Tú sí?
La tuve not too long ago.
Y que no, tus goals eran no pistear en un mes, güey.
Ajá, so cada mes me doy un challenge, a personal challenge to grow. Just to challenge myself, get me out of my routine. And just grow as a human. El de enero era no tomar alcohol. Y sí, no tomé alcohol. Pero el de febrero era no comer azúcar, como procesada, refinada. Pero se acabó enero y qué chistoso. No se me antojaba la cerveza, el alcohol, nada. Y duré hasta casi mi cumpleaños, hasta que ya me empecé a pistear. Pero leve, o sea, así que llevaba casi un mes y medio sin pistear. En marzo, not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, fuimos a un bar aquí en Tucson.
Sí.
Y como llevaba tanto sin salir a pistear así, pues llevaba un año sin ir a un bar.
Sí,
que ya está abierto el bar. Pues como antes, pre-COVID. Que I just disregarded all my... I think everyone went back then, when you used to go out and you get like shit-faced, tenías tu routine cuando llegabas a la casa, como lávate los dientes, tómate un vaso de agua, gente come pan, dice que... Todos tienen como su propio...
Un poutine.
Ajá, un poutine. Su propio como rule. I disregarded all of my rules and I just went straight to bed. Error número 1.
Sí, güey. Haz de cuenta estabas aprendiendo a pistear otra vez.
Sí, exacto. Era... Y amanecí acá y dije, no, esto no puede ser. Dios, eres tú. It's me again. Horrible, güey. Me dolía la cabeza, me sentía nauseous. And all that would cross my head was, this is why you don't drink.
Sí.
Like, you know, you have those thoughts. Ya sabes, cuando estás crudo, cuando dices que ya no quieres pistear.
Sí.
Cuando dices... ¿Por qué pisteamos?
Sí, güey.
¿Por qué? What's the point of it? I can do
it
sober.
No vale la pena esto. Pero fue pura cheve, o sea, te empezaste con cheve.
Empecé con cheve y le terminé la noche con whisky.
Es el peor, es cuando mezclas esa madre, es cuando ya te estás garantizando de pérdida un headache, güey. Y se escucha bien, mamón, pero a la edad que o sea, no estamos viejos, pero ya a los 25, 24 para arriba, en cuanto mezcles, mínimo you're signing up for a headache next morning.
Sí.
Hagas lo que hagas, güey.
Sí, güey. So, estoy en la cama valiendo verga. Y luego me entré, como dije, yo qué, este va a ser mi domingo o sábado de valer. Sábado desperdiciado. Sí. Y luego me acordé, tengo que correr.
Porque haces tu goa.
So, el challenge de marzo es correr todas las mañanas. Llueve o truene, no hay excusas.
Cruda sin cruda,
tengo que ir a correr. That's the first thing I do. So if I have like meetings in the morning or I have to be somewhere, I have to plan ahead because, if I travel, I have to plan ahead. En Ensenada corría, en México, en la Ciudad de México corría. Y sí, güey, corrí con un pinche, corrí con una cruda horrible. Era como, I just hated my life,
sí,
dude. Pero fíjate qué loco, llegué a la casa ya, and I was like, I feel better.
Sí, güey.
Pinches endorphins o todo lo que
sí, güey, sí. No mames. But you like sweat it out, ¿no? También.
No, o sea, andaba valiendo verga también. Pero ya no, o sea, se me
Yo
bajó.
pensé que nos habías dicho como una success story. Encontré la medicina. No. Corran un putero.
Corran, pero
dicen que tú crees en el dicho que veneno mata veneno en el aspecto con la cruda.
No, eso es un toxic trait, creo.
Mi jefe es de esos de que o sea, dices, cuando tú tomes desde morro, o sea, desde que supo que tomaba, si te amaneces crudo, pístate una cheve en la mañana.
Mi jefe es igual, güey.
Sí, güey, eso va a ser...
Yo sé que...
Sí, güey, nunca he amanecido crudo y pensar, arrímenme una cheve.
Mi jefe, le dije, ¿a poco? Mi jefe un día le dije, ¿a poco se te antoja una cheve? ¿Tú crees que se me va a antojar una cheve? Es lo último que quiero ver.
Sí,
pero me tengo que aguantar.
Sí, güey. Es otra clase de...
Otros tiempos.
Sí, otra clase de hombre. Sí, güey.
Pero sí, me acordé.
Tenían miedos.
Me acordé cuando estábamos, sí, más bien morros. Y pues yo no jugaba fútbol, güey, pero, pero pisteamos bien machine. Y el día siguiente, güey, y los acompañaba a ti y tu hermano a jugar fútbol. Sí, crudos, güey, secos. Sí, güey. Y yo abajo de un árbol, güey, todo.
Sí.
Estés corriendo bajo el sol.
Sí, güey, era en el fucking summertime, ¿sí, verdad?
Sí.
Sí, güey, esas veces no sé qué estaba pensando. Y loco, llegas en del medio tiempo, güey, del partido y andas sin valer. Y órale, otros 45. Mames, güey, y ahí vamos.
Y yo, échale ganas.
Sí, güey. Ese era el trato, güey, como pistear acá, pero... Porque me acuerdo que la primera vez que eso pasó fue porque yo... I agreed to go out and drink, pero dije, güey, tengo juego mañana, so I'm gonna go, like, light. Y era en la noche y ya pisteando, you get, like, you become, sí, güey, no, y aparte, you specifically get more, ¿cómo le dicen?
Divertido, soy un blast.
No, como más instigator, güey.
¿Yo?
Sí, güey, como eres más candil, güey.
¿Neta?
Sí, güey, como... Típicamente no, pero con pisteas te haces un poquito más candil, güey.
Okay.
So me acuerdo desde entonces, güey, que ya yo dije, no, pues yo creo que ya con esas... Y tú, ni madres, güey, todavía quedan acá, le sacas. Sí, güey, estás joven.
Yo corro por ti y no pasa nada.
Y el trato fue, ok, Simón, le sigo, pero tú vas a ir con nosotros. El partido era a las 9 de la mañana, güey. Y nos quedamos que hasta
dormíamos 3 horas.
Sí, güey. Llegó la pinche Yuma. 30 minutos manejando, güey. Y para llegar a un partido a las 9 de la mañana pisteando. Y no, güey, era... Está fea la cosa.
¿Y qué hacíamos en la noche, esa noche?
Una pisteadilla leve.
Ay, no nos sigan esos consejos, muchachos.
Sí. Pero esos tiempos han cambiado. Ahorita, ¿qué andas pisteando, Jorge?
La neta, güey, se la robé mi roommate.
La verdad. ¿Sí,
shout out to Chris. Dije, no traje cheve, güey. Para el podcast, güey. Y me metí el refri.
¿Qué es?
Es una Mother Road Brewing Company Tower Station Indian Pale Ale. Where's my camera? Está rica, güey. Pale Ale. I'm not a huge fan of IPAs, pero every once in a while, cuando no piste cheve por todo enero, en febrero, that's all I wanted. All I wanted was an IPA, a hazy IPA. I don't know why. No se me antojan usually, pero that's all I wanted. And I got it. No me acuerdo qué cheve fue. And it was so, like, quenching.
Yeah.
It was like, this is what I needed. This is what I wanted.
Y nadito acá.
Nah, fíjate que no.
Está bien.
I didn't really, like, suffer that much. It was very easy.
So you're not a big fan of IPAs?
I'll drink them. I'll enjoy them. I respect the craft.
Yeah.
Pero they're not my go-to. Hay una IPA que es mi favorita, que la voy a traer next podcast, creo. Maybe.
Porque aquí la tienen. Aquí
en April sale.
Sí.
420.
Sí, la 420.
That's the Stone. Muy rica. I'll talk about that one later, but muy rica. ¿Tú qué estás pisteando?
Yo agarré esta. I bought this about... se llama Sunset Amber Ale, the Grand Canyon Brewing Company. Acá. Neta la agarré at the Grand Canyon. Bueno, cerca, es como a una hora de ahí. De hecho fui este weekend. Camped in the Grand Canyon. Pues no adentro, pero like 10 miles south of it, from the south entrance. There's some BLM spots down there.
What's BLM? Black Lives Matter?
Sí, pues they do, pero es Bureau of Land Management, I think. And it's just public land. So if you are considering camping, but are like, no quiero pagar por un tent.
Oh, un campsite.
Yeah, that's what I meant, a campsite. No, pues un tent, you might want to take a tent. Campsite, there's public land that's for free that you can just, if you find it, and there's apps. Overlander is a really good one. That one has BLM spots. It has parking spots of like Walmarts like tagged in there, and they're like, oh, this one's safe. Like people comment on there, and they're like, I've been there. No one gives you shit. Things like that. That tells you where there's water sources. Es para alguien que quiere vivir moviéndose, güey.
Sí.
So I looked up Overlander, and I looked up some different spots going up from Flagstaff. Y sí, está a gusto, güey. Had a fire ring and everything. Under some trees. Night was beautiful. And so I bought this pretty close to that spot because we wanted some beer for the night.
¿Y qué es?
Es una Amber Ale.
Recommend? What would you... We should do, like, stars, like 0 out of 5, or, like... What would you rate it? 1 out of 10. Let's do 10.
Pues no. ¿Qué sería una 10, güey?
10 is impossible, I think. Because if you get a 10,
so
it's
1 to 9.
A 9 is just really good fucking beer.
I mean, it's good. Let me see. Esta probadita.
Taste test.
In all beers, like we're talking all beers, 1 to 9, all the beers I've ever had, or an Amber Ale nomás?
No, pues de todas.
Todas.
También tiene que ver mucho tu taste buds.
Sí, güey. Está rica, un 7.5. Llegándole a leer acá.
Está bien, güey.
Está bien, o sea, sí.
I think anything if you're at after a 6, you think you're good.
Está fácil para, o sea, está rica para pisteártela. Sí, güey. Y I liked it. I think it had to do with the experience too, like drinking at the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
someone just connect. I mean, I know we've gone. Have you gone to the Grand Canyon any other time besides the one time we went?
Yeah, I've been several times. I haven't camped at the Grand Canyon. I've done like cottages or like cabins. Or
and you've gone in, like you tried hiking in?
I mean,
we hiked like...
I've hiked it twice. Pero...
Todo.
No, unas 5 millas si acaso, güey. Pero uno de mis like bucket list is to cross the whole...
Yeah, rim to rim.
Rim to rim.
Yeah, when I was there this weekend,
if anyone's down...
sí, güey.
Let me know.
Sí, güey.
Porque no todos se animan, güey.
No, güey, pero lo harías... Yo vi una sign, yo pensaba que la raza se la aventaba en un día. That's what I've heard. Pero que like extreme people. Yo dije, maybe I can do that. Y esta vez que fui, güey, dice una sign once. We were going into our hike that we did. We went from Kaibab Trail. We did the Kaibab Trail to Cedar Ridge. It's about 3 miles round trip. Pero it's about 1,000 feet of elevation. So you go 1,000 feet down and 1,000 feet back up. So sí está caroncilla, pero it's doable. Pero, o sea, terminas y dices, como I hike, como that's pretty good for today. The average person, I would say. Y había una sign que decía, don't do rim to rim in one day. Like, just don't do it. If you are really interested to talk to a park ranger, and in my head I assume that the park ranger is going to try to talk you out of it. But otherwise they're giving you a physical test or something. I don't know what they would...
Cánsate antes de que te vayas.
Sí. Pero sí, está cabrón, o sea... It's no joke. The Grand Canyon, if you've never been, it's definitely a wonder.
It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. There's one of the one, I don't know which one I did. I think I've gone South Rim every time I go. And I was, the furthest I went down, there's like an oasis, right? Almost at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to the people that, crossing path. Apparently it's like a rehydration station or like refueling station. A lot of people stay there and like just regroup, refuel, like rethink their life. Yeah. Pero sí, yo he escuchado que you have to set up camp.
Sí, güey.
Y llevar tu comida, güey.
Sí, you can't do a day. It just seems impossible. I before that hike, y no es porque esa hike que yo hice estaba cabrona, I mean, it was doable, pero yo iba con la mentalidad, de hecho esa mañana, porque fui con mi novia y le dije, let's do rim to rim one day, como I think I can do it, como le dije, she was like, no you can't, like it's gonna be tough to, like, we're not anywhere near that for doing it in one day, and I was like, yo que sí, como, I'll do, like, if I run every day for a month, and like do hikes in the weekends, yo que en un mes y medio me la rifo, like that was my mentality, but now looking at it, and like seeing what rim to rim actually is, and es
otro pedo, güey. Esa raza con unas mochilas, güey, like half the size of them, and like they have those like all the gear, they have like the walking sticks, todos puteados.
Sí, güey. Decía la sign like you could face serious injury or death.
Imagínate, llegas a la mero abajo, como boom, you twist your ankle.
Sí, güey, vale verga.
Just twist your ankle.
Sí, güey.
Just sprain. Vale, ya. Ahí quedaste, güey.
Yeah, no, you added 3 days to the trip, güey.
Sí, un helicóptero.
Sí, güey.
No,
pero no pasó nada de eso. Estuvo bien chingón el Grand Canyon. Si no han ido, yo no había ido. Esta es mi segunda vez que he ido. Y la primera vez que fui contigo, pero era el último día antes de mudarme a California, cuando me fui a mudar. Eso era de que nunca fui. O sea, viví en Arizona por 21 años. Y nunca fui. Y sí, if you've been in Arizona, yo sé que hay mucha gente que no ha ido al Grand Canyon, güey, se lo vayan, o sea, I'm sure there's trips, like, you can buy, like, a tour from wherever you are in Arizona at this point. I mean, you just gotta check it out.
Yeah, if you're from Arizona and you have the resources or you have the time, allocate it, because it's worth it. It's a breathtaker. Te tengo una historia, güey. No tengo una historia, güey, pero quiero tu opinión.
Un cuento.
Quiero tu opinión.
Suelta la sopa.
Sobre algo que me pasó en Tulum.
Okay.
Y ha sido Tulum, ha sido Zaria. Okay. Entonces, story time.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some preface. So, Tulum it's like a little town in Quintana Roo. It's towards the end.
Timon.
So, basically, Quintana Roo, 3 major towns. Cancun, which is more like for the older people, más para tirar fiesta, más antros, más desmadre.
Okay.
Luego está Playa del Carmen, que es más como, more for like couples. Es más chill. No hay tantos antros, hay pocos bars, más restaurantes, boardwalks, playa. Okay. Está más relaxed.
Okay.
Y luego está Tulum. I don't think it's a city, but it's growing. It's like the newest thing to do down there. It's gaining popularity. And Tulum is more for like young people, hipsters, a lot of people like you who like just like to travel and backpack and like rifársela, güey. So estábamos en Tulum. Y Tulum es una calle, güey, literal. Una calle. Y en esa calle, pues, hay restaurantes y cositas que hacer, un que otro bar. Está chido, está bonito. Pero se acaba la calle y ya nomás es jungla, güey. Y nuestro Airbnb estaba como on the outskirts. Like, we had to drive in the jungle to this Airbnb.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was... Y llegamos de noche. So I was like, where the fuck are we? Anyways, llegamos a este Airbnb, and this guy greets us. But he's humble as fuck. Like, the people there are humble as fuck. Hay mucha pobreza.
Yeah.
Y ya nos quedamos en el Airbnb, whatever. No, realmente nuestro trip era más como para ir a los cenotes, just jump, a cliff jump, swim in clear water. Mm-hmm. So we were driving around, just cenote from cenote. That's basically all we did our whole trip. It was amazing. But that's outside of Tulum. Tulum, we were just like staying, eating, and then we'd leave. Pero hice, no sé, hablando con locals que nos daban tours, que los que hacían, pues, hay mucha pobreza, es lo que es. De que niños dándonos el tour. Because, children sell more than adults. Yeah. Or get more tips or whatever. Y hablando con locals, it was amazing. It was a very humbling experience. And we went to this place called Coba, these like ruins. Y en esas ruins, you have to take a bike, or you could walk it, I guess. But you can take a bike for like 2-3 miles. You're just on a bike. Bien rico. And talking to the dude there, salió el tema de que he makes 90 pesos a day. Okay. That's pushing $4 a day. Mm-hmm. And this guy has a family to feed. So he's like, on a good day, 90 pesos. And we're like, fuck, 90 pesos? Just for like taking us from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. All day. He hustles all day. Compré comida 20 pesos, una tortona así de 20 pesos. Y me acuerdo, Yesenia, she was like, le dijo, ¿cuánto va a ser? Y dijo, 20 pesos. Y la Yesenia, 20 pesos. Like, she couldn't believe it.
¿Por el tour les dieron?
No, una torta.
Oh, okay.
This was outside of the this is Tulum. We were in Tulum, but like outside of the main street. And the guy was like, Yesenia was so, we were so amazed how cheap that torta was. And the guy was like, I'm so sorry, like the meat prices went up, so I have to raise the prices. I know I raised the prices. Y nosotros así, 20 pesos por esta torta, güey. 20 pesos es $1.
Sí, güey.
No mames, güey. Ok, puras experiencias y tuvimos todo el trip, güey. Al final del trip, casi al final, el último día, we were like, you know what? No, realmente no hemos ido a la playa. Aquí era la playa. Mm-hmm. So, está la main road y entrando to the left, there's another road. Y esa road te lleva a la playa. It's on the coast. Pero se llama la zona hotelera.
Okay.
Entras a esa road y está la playa. And all this road is the road, on the left side está la playa, but you can't see the beach because it's all hotels. And they're the nicest, most gorgeous, up-to-date hotels you can imagine. Okay. You have, everything screams Instagram. Like donde te pares, güey, it's Instagrammable. Sí. Like, you have people, pura gente extranjera, güey.
Influencers.
Puro influencer, la neta.
Sí.
You have like these out of nowhere. I'm seeing like Bentleys and BMWs and Jeeps and just expensive cars, and I'm like, what? Todo bien confundido, because I come from this like humble, people, and now I'm like surrounded by materialism. Mm-hmm. Gelato. There was some gelato and shit. Like oven wood pizza. It has like bars, antros, todo, luces, todo. It's It's fucking fun.
Yeah.
So we're having a good time about it. Tienes que entrar a un hotel para entrar a la playa. So, porque está la carretera, está la playa, pero los hoteles se dueñaron de toda la playa, o sea, de todo el coast.
So la playa está adentro del hotel.
No, tienes que pasar el hotel para entrar a la playa, para ver a la playa.
Sí, o sea.
Sí, tienes que entrar al hotel, y luego
playa.
sales del hotel y está la playa. So if you're at the beach, aquí está el agua, si te asomas, están puros hoteles.
Sí.
Y hay un verguero de gente bailando, hippies, weed, que se llama weed. I was offered all sorts of drugs unas pocas horas que estaba ahí.
Okay.
Y ya estábamos ambientados. It was our last day, estábamos acá pisteones y dije yo, ya towards the end, I was like, ¿sabes qué? Me antojo una chévere. Fuck it, voy a una chévere.
Se vale.
Treat myself. Y voy al bar, porque el bar está literal en la playa, güey. Y voy al bar y digo yo, wait a minute. This is probably going to be expensive. I'm going to ask. Usually I just be like, me da una chévere and fuck it. But I was like, I'm going to ask. Y le pregunté, hey, ¿cuál es? Me da una Tecate. Because I figured that's going to be like the cheapest thing. Y le dije, ¿cuánto está la Tecate? Y el vato me dice, 90 pesos. Y en ese instante, güey, tuve un así reality check. Se me prendió el foco and I was like, everything froze. I was like, what? ¿Cómo se le llama? The glass shattering effect, you called it? I was like, okay, gracias. Y me fui. I couldn't buy it. Me dio asco, güey, saber que esta otra persona trabaja todo el día por 90 pesos, güey. Y yo los iba a gastar en un instante, güey. Para un momento en mi vida que insignificante. Sí. Y I couldn't buy it. Y me puse a pensar. All I was thinking was like, so much money goes into Tulum. Like millions, I'm sure, go into Tulum. Why is it not reflected on the city? It's only this like it's only on the coast. Y me puse a pensar más, es como todos estos hoteles son dueños extranjeros. They're not even there.
Sí.
Y cómo es que México dejó que entraran extranjeros y no como, hey, we want a piece. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to profit off of this. You have the money, clearly, but to be on our land, pues, echa para la comunidad, güey. Y no sé, me entró ese, like, support local. Like, I don't know where these 90 pesos are going to.
Sí.
Porque temprano, earlier in the week, dije, queremos cheve. Fuimos por cheve. Pero a las 10 paran de vender cheve. No en la zona hotelera. Pero aquí en la street, sí. So, como ya tengo colmillo, ya tengo experiencia, dije, I have to go to a local store. Y yo, Cincho me van a vender. Sí. Y sí, Cincho me vendieron. Me compré un 12 por 300 pesos, güey. Igual, así de que 300 pesos. And 300 pesos is like pushing $15.
Sí.
That's what we would pay here for.
Sí, es lo que vale.
Ni el caso, o sea, boom. But I knew, and I paid, okay, yo sé que I'm bitching about 90 pesos. I paid a lot of money for a beer. Sí, I've been to stadiums, concerts, Vegas.
Sí, güey, no.
Una vez pagué $20 por una cheve. Y yo de que, ¿qué estoy haciendo?
Sí, güey. Y está ahí mala, güey.
Sí, güey, yo como, ¿qué estoy haciendo?
La peor cheve que has tomado, sí.
Son 90 pesos X, güey. Pero dije yo, at least I know, estos 300 pesos, at least I know I'm feeding a family.
Sí.
Los 90 pesos acá, ¿cómo chingado? ¿A dónde van?
Sí.
Estos 90 pesos, güey. ¿Qué opinas sobre lo que te acabo de contar? Sobre, no sé ni qué pregunta te tengo que hacer, güey, pero la idea esa de que en Tulum entra, o me imagino que toda esa área entra tanto dinero, pero nomás se queda en esas zonas, o sea, no se distribuye, y no creo que los dueños tienen que, pagar dinero a los demás, no creo que es justo tampoco, pero, I don't know, it's so much money going in there that why is it not bleeding a little bit into the rest of the town?
Pues, I mean, hay muchos, yo me imagino que hay muchas razones, ¿verdad? Yo lo que he escuchado muchas veces es de que, por ejemplo, con lo que es comida, I mean, money and food are like the two biggest resources and water really are the biggest things that people are striving to keep, right? And really build their wealth upon, right? We think about money as wealth, but like that money isn't gonna help you. You can't eat money, you know. So eventually you're gonna use that money to buy either food, water, si andas en las últimas, ¿verdad? And all of those things are things that aren't shared equally. Like money isn't shared equally, food isn't shared equally, and water isn't shared equally among the planet. there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
There's enough. Pero, I mean, you often hear aquí en los Estados Unidos que el 1%, ¿verdad?
Sí.
That happens in like a microscopic way in different cities too. Like, every city has also a 1%. Every town has a 1%. You know, maybe the percentage is, but you know what I mean? Like the theory of the 1% of there's a very specific group of people who are controlling those resources. Often there'll be governmental positions that they hold, pero igual en unas ciudades o pueblos no es ni el presidente de ahí, es un güey que pudo controlar o alguien, o sea, sí, vale verga, pues, pero tienes la razón, o sea, muchas veces no nos damos cuenta, nomás soltamos la feria. Y cuando en verdad lo empiezas a cuestionar. Question it. Wow, that's a... No, I can't...
Tongue twister.
Cuestionar. Puta madre. Cuestionar.
Cuestionar.
Nunca he batallado.
Ahí lo grité como si ya te ibas a entender.
Ah, ya. Esa madre, question. You don't question it. O sea, nomás lo sueltas. When you start paying attention to that, you'll notice that it happens in most of your purchases. Just go back to most of your purchases and think about, I can almost guarantee you that the average person in their last 10 purchases just paid a big corporation.
Yeah.
Like either a gas station, okay, it's a chain, a fast food place, that's a chain, a retail store, that's a chain, like that is really just working to feed the people up there.
Yeah.
You know, we hardly ever think about, okay, who's selling in my neighborhood? Which families in my neighborhood or in my town have a family business that I can go and support? Yeah. Or even if you're not thinking about being selfless and want to be like, oh, I want to go help somebody. No, even just like, how many family-owned businesses do you like? Like,
do you like
that,
or even know of?
Because like think about if I told you what's the grocery store that you prefer to go to. You don't have to say it, but I know it's not gonna be a mom and pop grocery store, una pinche abarrotes, güey. O sea, es una corporation, Walmart, you know, I can say all the Target, lo que sea, Safeway, todas. Igual con tu restaurant. It's not that taco truck that you know your like for me, I have students, like I'm a teacher, I have students whose families have taco trucks in the Oakland area. I don't know about every teacher going to those, or their friends don't always go to their taco truck. They'll go to Taco Bell, you know? I mean, maybe, I don't know. But I feel like that happens a lot. You know, we just don't focus on where our resources are going. Because if you invest in that local shop, you're reinvesting in your community, right? That money is going to go to make that shop better. And then, therefore, your community, your neighborhood is going to be worth more because there's a pretty little shop at the corner that makes it look a little bit prettier.
Exactly.
So you're reinvesting in your people and your community. And we often negate that that's even a thing we can do. Like, we are always like, why do I live in such an ugly neighborhood? Like, I've never said that. I love where I live or where I used to live. But people complain about their area, but we don't even look at how we can reinvest in it.
Yeah. And that's the light bulb moment that I had. I was like, fuck this. If I'm going to spend money, I'd rather spend a little more and know that I'm supporting local.
Yeah, no,
that's what I try to do in Tucson. I try to eat local. Because at the end of the day, yeah, I could have I don't know. It's just, I could have, every place is going to give you a specific service.
Yeah.
You're not going to, like, what's that one, Hot Boys?
Yeah.
You're not going to find Hot Boys probably anywhere unless it franchises, but it's not there yet.
Yeah. But I mean, you're at least funding their evolution, right?
Exactly.
Their expansion.
Exactly.
And communities and companies like that often then look back at ways that they can build where they started at, you know? Yeah, it's great. I mean, now that I'm in Tucson, if anybody's watching and has like family-owned businesses, specifically restaurants, that you guys want to send our way that we can go check out and we can talk about it in the next pod.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Just like fucking review
it.
La
neta sí, send us your mom and pops, send us your restaurants. Escuché no hace mucho que los Oxxos se están adueñando de México, ¿no? Algo así. Y es verdad, como antes de niño me acuerdo que había como una tiendita en cada esquina que podías comprar tus chucherías, güey. Sí. Y esas tiendas están desapareciendo, güey. Cada año desaparecen más y más.
¿Los Oxxos?
No.
Dije, yo miro más, güey.
No. Las tienditas así de family owned, ya sabes
los abarrotes,
que estaban, los abarrotes, las fruterías, Ya existen los super Oxxos, güey, que son como un little mini... Encuentras todo, venden fruta y la chingada.
Sí, güey.
And it's like... Si vas a ir a gastar dinero en unas sabritas, mejor vete a la señora que vende en tu barrio, en tu cuadra. I'm sure there's someone.
Sí, o sea, se trata de reinvest in it, you know? Sí, güey. Eso, sí, mándenos restaurants. También en San Luis, Arizona, andamos por Yuma. En Oakland, Bay Area, allá también. Like,
wherever you're at.
Yeah, wherever you're at.
We love traveling too, so it's like...
Yeah, give us your spots. Give us your spot. And if you have if you own a restaurant or stuff like that, definitely check that out too. Sí, güey, se trata de apoyar eso. Porque imagínate si tú empezaras tu negocio, güey, y you're going to look at your community for support first. You're not going to think about, you know, anywhere else. You got to start here. I mean, even this podcast, we're hoping that it fuels the people that we know, and then they can sort of support us, right? Like, that's just how it works. There's no other way to sort of climb. We're not going to reach people in China before we reach people here, you know? Es igual con los restaurantes, con todo, me imagino. So, en Tulum, me imagino que quieren empezar a jalar gente para acá, pero la gente que va que me imagino, no he ido yo, pero me imagino que más gente había en esa zona que donde había en otros lugares. Sí. Y provoca lo mismo.
Qué triste.
Bueno, yo te quería preguntar sobre la idea de...
¿Esa es tu pregunta del día?
Sí.
Se
vale.
Date.
Yo he estado pensando mucho en lo que es la felicidad. O sea, que quiere decir diferentes cosas para mucha gente, ¿verdad? O sea, mucha gente ve felicidad en un carro nuevo, o en una familia, o en una meta completada, ¿verdad? O en la salud, simplemente en la salud, cuando la gente está feliz. Pienso que es algo como en el episodio anterior o uno de los episodios anteriores hablamos del amor, ¿right? Que es amor y es muy diferente para toda la gente. Pienso que lo que es la felicidad es algo que también es muy como very abstract, it's ambiguous. A lot of people have different definitions for it, and a lot of people become content with different things, right? Like if I give you something that you love and makes you happy, if I give that same thing to someone else, it might not mean anything.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what you thought about happiness in terms of like, what do you think it means for you? Do you think you're happy? Do you think happiness? I also been thinking about happiness as a possible spectrum.
Yeah.
So if happiness is a spectrum, meaning it's not black or white, it's gradual. Do you feel like if you think you're happy now, do you feel like you could be happier, or do you feel like you reached your max of the spectrum and you want to just stay there?
Yeah, that's a great question, dude. I think a lot about the concept of happiness, because I think that nowadays we push that a lot. Like, be happy. Like, it's called toxic positivity.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, have a great day, be happy, but it's not like, you know, really taking care of your needs. It's just like, be happy, be positive.
Yeah, like, have a great day.
Yeah, like, yeah, we're like, that's being pushed a lot as everybody should be happy, like an expectation. And I think, this is what I think about happiness. I think happiness is something you have to work on every day. Like an athlete works on their skills to become the best soccer player out there. People who are happy are constantly working, maybe subconsciously, but they're constantly working on being happy or doing things that make them happy. Yeah. It's very easy to want to be the best soccer player in the world, pero mejor ver un partido de fútbol comiéndote unos Doritos. ¿Sabes? Como pisándote una coca. Pero, y quieres hacer feliz, pero it's easier to see it. It's easier to see happiness. So I think happiness is something you have to constantly work at. And it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I'm happy. What am I doing now? And what can I keep doing to maintain this happiness? Pero es muy importante saber que no vas a ser feliz todo el día ni todo el tiempo. Y creo que es como un yin y yang, como no puedes tener felicidad, sino como no puedes tener felicidad si existe la tristeza.
Sí.
Como, si existe la tristeza, quiere decir que existe la felicidad. So, tienes que, you have to go back and forth. Nomás que tú tienes el control de decir, okay, I'm in a bad place, fine. Like, that's what I do sometimes. When I'm in a, like, not so the best mood, or I'm, like, sad, I'm like, fine, I'm sad. Like, let's sit in this for a while, let's process what I'm feeling, and then, like, the next day, it's como, okay, yeah, back to where I want to be, back to what I'm doing constantly to feel happy, I guess. Also, I think happiness is very abstract, like you said. Como, what is happiness? Yeah. Happiness means a lot of different things. And one of the things I think is happiness is living in the moment. If you live in the future, you probably have more anxiety because the future is uncertain. Yeah. If you live in the past, you're more likely to have depression because you're stuck on something that's never on a memory.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to change.
You're never going to change it. You're never going to go back. Pero cuando estás en el momento, that's when you're happiest. And if you think of the times you're doing an activity que se te olvida lo que estás haciendo, your just mind goes away and like, wow, time flew by.
Yeah.
You were your happiest. O como a good example es el cine. Vas al cine y por una hora se te olvida todo el mundo porque estás enfocado en algo. And maybe you're not happy. Yeah, if you're watching a comedy, but you're at peace. Y nomás se acaba el cine, boom, back to reality. It's like, I'm not in the present anymore. I'm thinking of I'm thinking of my car. I have to go to my car. I have to go home. You're back to the future. So it's constantly reeling yourself back in. It's like on the story. I do that sometimes, like when I'm getting angsty or bored anxious, or whatever. I'm like, okay, look around me. What can I see? What can I smell? What can I feel? What can I hear? And just if I'm outside in nature, it's like, can I see the trees in the wind? And like, what am I smelling? Yeah. It's just like grounds you back to the present.
That's practicing mindfulness.
Y también creo que happiness viene mucho de gratitude. If you're grateful for what you have, you're more prone to be happy.
You're more prone to what you have.
Grateful. If you're grateful for what you have, you're more. I think you're I guess you could say content. You're satisfied. You just appreciate the things you have.
Sí.
Y me pongo a pensar mucho en las comunidades más pobres. Normalmente, bueno, pienso en México, la gente es muy amable, muy humilde, muy
alegre, ¿verdad?
Alegre, como te va a invitar a cenar, aunque ellos apenas la hacen, you know? Hay un dicho que donde cena uno, cenan dos, sí. O algo así parecido. Y es esa idea de que puedo dar. Sí. I'm grateful for what I have, but I can share. Y son la gente que no tiene mucho. Sí. Y si piensas en la gente que tiene mucho, they're more like greedy, like they don't want to share, they're more to themselves, más cerrados.
Sí.
So me pongo a pensar, la gente que es más humilde es más agradecida. Es más agradecida que, fuck, I have this to eat.
Pero dirías que son más felices.
En su propia manera, yo que sí.
¿Dónde crees que viene esa felicidad entonces?
Creo que viene de lo mismo. They're grateful for the food they have that day, and they're grateful because they're living in the moment. Ya tienen la comida calentita. Ya tienen, okay, ya es hora de dormir, tengo una cama, no está lloviendo hoy. Sí. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm at peace. Obviamente otros factores que los tiene más survival mode, pero they're more prone to share and give. And when you give, you're more, I think you're happy. Like, it makes you feel good.
Lo que me preocupa a mí es que ese pensamiento, porque yo lo he escuchado también, esa sola como analogía, que el que tiene menos tiene más para dar. Y sola, like we sort of take that thought and we're like, oh, like when we see, I fear that that's a thought or a story we tell ourselves to not lend a hand, or sort of to block out that we could do more for certain communities or for certain people. Like I just fear, I don't know, I'm not convinced that this is true, but I just fear that what you just said is a story we tell ourselves to sort of be like, they're okay. Like, they're happy. They have less and they're happy.
No lo digo más como analogía para aplicártela a tu vida.
¿Cómo?
Como ellos están agradecidos con lo que tienen, hence they live in the moment, hence they're happier for what they have. They appreciate the life, the little they have. They're more appreciative. Son más agradecidos con la vida, con Dios, con sus vecinos, con su familia, con sus hijos, whatever. La gente que tiene más dinero es menos agradecida y es más greedy. Es más, I want more, I deserve more. Why don't I have instant gratification? You know?
And so you would say that in general, people who have more material things are less happy?
I don't know. I don't think you could.
It's a blanket statement.
Yeah, right? I don't think you could measure that. I think if you practice gratitude, you're more likely to be happy.
So, if you were to suggest someone who's struggling to feel happy, would you then suggest to look in their materials or their gratitude level?
Yeah, I think if someone's looking to be happy, the first thing I would say is start thinking about what you do have, the things you do like. And start, I don't like to use the word capitalize, but start capitalizing on that. If you really appreciate cloudy days, that really if you really appreciate and you're grateful, oh, today's a really cloudy day, ahí quédate en ese pensamiento de qué bueno que hoy es un día cloudy porque me pone más de, puts me in a good mood. O sabes que qué bueno que mis papás están ahí, no se han enfermado, o qué bueno que me va bien, qué bueno que tengo trabajo.
Sí.
Qué bueno que en la pandemia no me ha dado COVID. Como cuando te pones a pensar esos pensamientos positivos.
O sea, viéndole el lado positivo a las cosas.
Normalmente te entra una energía positiva y pensamientos positivos. I think if you fixate on the what you don't have or the negatives, law of attraction, you're just gonna think negative. Mm-hmm. If you think of positive, you're gonna think positive.
Have you ever struggled?
But again, it's a practice. Like you have to practice this a lot hasta que llega un punto donde ya se te hace fácil.
Sí. Have you ever struggled with not being positive? Like, has there ever been a dark period in your life where you've been like, I don't feel happy right now? Like maybe borderline depression?
I think I've been depressed when I was my junior year of college, cuando la primera vez que me vine para acá. Está bien zarra, güey. Because I came from a group of friends. I came from... Hacía lo que yo quería. Tenía 20 años, no podía salir, no podía comprar alcohol. I didn't feel like I had that freedom I had back home. No conocía Tucson. Conocía como a 3 personas. They were all doing their own thing. I got stuck in this routine. And I wasn't... I don't know. I was in the future and I was in the past. I was depressed because, man, this is what I could have because I had it back then. And then in the future, I was like, I have to do this tomorrow. I have this exam. I have this class. I didn't really step out of my comfort zone. It became a routine, and I was like, this fucking sucks. Y un día, dije, no, la bestia, ya. Like, I caught it. I was like, ni madres. So I started doing more things for me. I got more involved in school. I started reaching out to people. I don't know. I changed my perspective. Como, sí, I could sit and complain, or I can do something about it. And when I did something about it, things have changed. Yeah,
it's sort of that growth mindset versus deficit thinking, right? Yeah. Like deficit thinking would be like, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this. And then I don't know if it's called the surplus thinking, but I call it the growth mindset is like, I have this and I can have this other thing if I sort of work towards this. Sí, yeah. So deficit thinking is usually where you land, right? That routine of like, I don't tengo esto, vale verga aquí, vale verga esto. So just looking at the negative, right? I feel like it's so hard though to catch it. You know, you explained that there's a moment where you caught it.
Pero it comes with mindfulness. Como I just think a lot. So I was like, okay, what thoughts do I want to think about? And I started focusing on the more positive things. I started focusing on like, yeah, I'm away from my friends, but the friends I have are pretty solid, and I can count on them for everything. Yeah. And I would travel to see them. So, y cada vez que viajaba or would go back home, I had this surge of gratitude because in appreciation for what I have. Because I llegaba, y salía, hacíamos nuestro desmadre. Y digo yo como, fuck, I have all of this. I felt so grateful. I saw my parents. They were doing good. They're healthy. I feel grateful that they're okay. Regresaba bien pumped a Tucson. And it's like, how do I transfer that energy, those thoughts, to my day-to-day? And it wasn't easy. It takes practice. It takes practice. Pero también, y cada quien es diferente, pero es stepping out of that comfort zone. Doing something challenging. Joe Rogan says if you want to live a good life or a happy life, do something hard. Like, people avoid struggling. People avoid doing something hard. But he's like, no, like, go to the gym. If you don't want to go to the gym, go to the gym. Y cuando sales del gym, you feel like, oh, you know what? I'm glad I went.
Yeah, accomplished.
You feel accomplished. Accomplishments. If you're doing the same thing every day, what are you accomplishing?
Yeah, that's huge, dude. Like, just thinking about accomplishments as like a positive reinforcement. Y es como dándole una galletita a un perrito o una snack a un perrito para que se aprenda un truco. If you just give yourself that positive reinforcement, right? Like, because I've heard of, because what you said made me think about, like, I've heard a lot of people say, do your bed every morning.
I fucking hate that.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't do it. Pero it's a practice of if you're lacking opportunities in your day to have accomplishments, or if you feel like you need that positive reinforcement, a good way that you can sort of kickstart that is, I've heard, do your bed every morning. Like, that'd be the first thing you do, because you start your day with an accomplishment. Like, I already did something in the first 10 minutes of my day. I already did it. There's a lot of research, like studies and shit that say that people who are very successful do their bed every morning. And I'm not going to say that I do it every morning, but this is something that I've been working on doing my bed every morning. And I've sort of felt like the days that I do that are, in comparison to the days that I don't, are a little bit more productive. And it could be a mind thing. I'm sure it is.
Yes and no. I think it's individualized. Si yo hago mi cama en la mañana, me voy a sentir bien porque we want to see a bed waiting for us. Esto es para mí. Vámonos. Cuando llegues a la casa. I get it. It makes you feel good. But para mí, it's a waste of fucking time. I'm going to go back. I'm not bringing anyone home, I hope. I'm coming back straight.
I hope. Ya escucharon. No chance.
Nunca sabes. But I'm going to lay in this bed again. I don't need to get it done. But I have other accomplishments I have scheduled for the day.
And so maybe that's the difference there. Like, I think that could be a tool for people who don't have that many opportunities, right? And even if you do, I'm sure it wouldn't be a bad. I'm sure if you did it, well, you see it as a waste of time. So maybe not you, but
fuck that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if that's how you feel, like
I've done it, and whatever.
Yeah, just to lay it out there. I've done
There's
it.
this.
I know how to do it.
I saw this video where it was like, if it takes less than a minute, do it.
Okay.
And I was like, that's a good mindset, because vas a hacer, if it takes less than a minute, you do it, y llegas a un punto donde no se te acumulan las cositas chiquitas.
Sí.
So tienes más tiempo para ti.
Es cierto.
Pero, sí, I get all that, pero if you have other shit, if you have other accomplishments you want to get done,
yeah.
Para mí, la cama me vale madre.
Sí,
ahí va a estar ahí como la dejé va a estar, güey.
Sí,
so, no.
Yeah. It's a side note, but going back to the happiness part, do you feel like you are at a point in your life where you would say you're happy?
I'm very happy. I am extremely happy, but I'm not extremely happy every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I zoom out, it's like I'm happy most of the time. Most of the time, I'm fucking happy. Pero te tienes que preguntar, ¿por qué, Jorge? I'm constantly traveling, and every time I travel, it humbles the fuck out of me. I don't know if that's happened to you, but when you're like somewhere new, it's like, yo me siento chiquito, no conozco a nadie. I'm just grateful I'm there. I'm grateful I tried this new food that was really good. I'm grateful I just got to see this amazing experience, had this amazing experience. Gratefulness, appreciation, challenge, right? Yeah. Accomplishment. All that's happening at the same time. I constantly travel. I put myself in a situation where I try to be with people all the time, con mis amigos. My roommates, I'm try to be with them. No, hombre, loco. Se me fue. Try to be with them most times. So, and we're constantly thinking of shit. We're cooking together. We're constantly.
You have that community.
Community And it's just not any person. It's people who challenge me or I admire. Again, that gratefulness, like, oh my gosh, and that admiration. Yeah. I'm constantly around that. In mi trabajo, I'm surrounded by people I look up to and I really admire. And again, gratitude. Like, I have that imposter syndrome where I'm like, damn, I'm not worthy of being of working along you. Like, you're fucking amazing. Again, that humble.
Yeah.
So yo me pongo en esas situaciones a propósito. Again, I work on it. Y pues, the end result is usually I'm in a good state.
And do you feel like you could be happier?
No, güey, porque ¿qué es la felicidad, güey? ¿Hay levels to the felicidad? Or is it just, I feel great, I don't feel great? That's how I think it is. It's like, I feel great, I don't feel great. And you teeter-totter. Teeter-totter. And I try to enjoy the times, and this is weird to think about, and people who are usually not as happy are going to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But when I'm on the not feeling so good side, lo trato de disfrutar. Sí. Trato de decir, those are feelings too, you know. You have to feel those feelings. Like, you know, I feel scared, I feel sad, güey. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué siento? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? What can I do to get out of this slump? It's like, okay, call my mom. You know, I gotta call my mom.
Shout out to moms every time.
I'm like, fuck, I gotta call my mom. Okay.
You know, I'm sad, mom.
Sí, mom. Y pues nada, okay, feel better, you know? Sí. That you get that spike of like...
Sí, te manda cookies.
Sí, bueno, nunca me han mandado, pero...
Tortillita.
¿Y tú qué pedo? ¿Tú cómo te ves? You said you think it's a spectrum, but is the spectrum always moving? Well, is the spectrum... What do you think?
Well, I'm contemplating it could be a spectrum. Like, I'm not set. I haven't decided. It's something that I've been thinking about. Like, I've been asking myself, is happiness a spectrum? Could I be happier? I struggled with, like, being positive, and, like, I had a lot of days a couple years ago where I was pretty depressed. Mm-hmm. And it's something that it's not easily something I've, like, recovered from. Like, it's like it's a wound, dude. Like, it's a scar.
Yeah.
Like, if you survive depression or, like, some sort of mental health that's a negative, like, it brought you down in that sense, people who have gone through that can probably attest to this too, that it's not something you're like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Sí.
Like, it pulls you back every now and
then.
De
cierta forma lo tienes siempre contigo.
Sí, güey. So it's just you have to be, even like you said, practice it. It's like 10 times harder.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, so like...
I know I made it sound like, oh, pero no, yo sé que es muy difícil. Yo sé que también tengo mis... I read a book called The Happiness Hypothesis y habla de muchas cosas, y una de las cosas que habla que se me hizo muy interesante es que genetically, like something you cannot control, there are humans who are happier and humans that are more sad and depressed. And it's genetically, like, no matter what circumstances you have in life, these people are prone to are just going to be happier. Mm-hmm. Are people who are no le puedes dar todo en la vida lo que quiere, they're always going to feel more sad.
Well, they're prone to. Right?
They're prone to be more sad, and it's genetic. It's not something they can control.
Yeah,
it's something they have to live with.
Yeah, that's huge for people to know. I'm sure I didn't know that.
It's really interesting. It opens the chapter talking about how the mind. He does an analogy of, like, the mind is the elephant. Half of the mind is an elephant, and half of the mind is the rider, the person on top of the elephant. The elephant is the instinct, your instinct behavior. Un elefante, si estás en un elefante y no lo estás como manejando, el elefante va a seguir caminando por la vida.
Yes,
y se va a defender. He's going to flinch. He's going to avoid a cliff. Y son todos tus immediate reactions que tienes en la vida. That's your brain that's you naturally, without you thinking, doing shit, living life. The rider is the one who controls those instincts. And if the rider sucks, if you suck at controlling your mind, your way of thinking, el elefante va a hacer lo que él quiera. El elefante va a tener miedo, el elefante va a salir corriendo. But if you're a good rider, if you have control over your elephant, you control the speed, you control the path. Sabes que no, I don't want to go to the left, I want to go to the right. So it talks, the whole book, it uses that analogy, and it talks about how it's learning how to be a good writer and learning how to pull back those thoughts or reel it back in and see the big picture and where exactly do you want to go with this.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that explains it very well. Porque, like people who struggle with depression and shit will tell you even after they've been doing well for a couple of years, like a little trigger can sort of bring them back. Yeah. Like for me, like my birthdays are a trigger. Interestingly enough, like if I don't have, just because like there was a year when my birthday was a point where I realized I was depressed, and so it was like, oh shit, like, so every year it's sort of like it's almost like a what do you call it, like a
trigger or
a trigger, yes, a trigger for sure, but also like
a reminder.
But the way I'm trying to see it, what I'm trying to say is the way, instead of seeing it as a trigger, I'm trying to see it like a almost in the same way as a holiday or a birthday, where it's like it's been that year I was not doing well. This year I'm doing a little bit better, you know, and I think that's my theme for sort of pulling myself out of that. Like every day being like, I'm doing a little bit better than I was like yesterday or even that year.
And it goes back to my theory of gratitude. It's like, wow, I was back there. Now I'm here. Yeah. Look at the progress.
Yeah.
And it's like appreciating what you have now versus what you had back then.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I was contemplating like happiness as a spectrum. Like, could I be happier is something that I've been thinking about. And so that's why I brought it up. Like, and so if people have any ideas, do you think happiness is a spectrum, meaning you can be happier, less happier, minimally happy, and also sad? Like, is there levels to sadness? I kind of think there is.
You think there's levels to sadness? I think there's levels of sadness.
Levels. I mean, if there's that, then there should be levels of happiness.
Pero sí. Pero creo que happiness is más como short term.
Distance.
Short term, como y sadness, you could carry that bitch out. You could prolong it.
Well, I've heard the quote, happiness is life without expectations.
Oh, I'm glad you bring that up. Because that's a life motto I have. Expectations.
Yeah.
I learned early on to not have expectations. Un día me dijo Chris, shout out to Chris. We would go eat all the time. Y yo era siempre de que, nah, le falta esto a la comida. Nah, que this would have been better if it had this. I was always analyzing everything.
Deficit thinking.
Y este güey me dijo un día, you're just never satisfied, are you? Así como casually. And it fucking broke me. I was like, what? I'm never satisfied. I want to be satisfied. Y me cambió toda mi perspectiva. And every time I ate something that I thought needed something else, I was like, but you know what? It's still really good for what it is. And the cooks are probably hustling back there, and like they're probably having a rough day. I'm having a good time. They're having a rough day. Again, yo cambié mi... Y it was a pattern hasta que llegó un punto, güey, donde todo lo que comía me gustaba.
Yeah.
Qué loco, güey. Hasta la fecha, güey, todo lo que como... Digo, you know what? Unless it's fucking trash. Yeah. Pero todo lo que como es como, you know what? This is not bad. This is pretty good. Like, for what it is.
Y subiste 10 libras de...
Sí.
Pero corriendo ahorita.
No expectations. In my mind at the moment, I wanted my food to taste a specific way. It was never gonna meet it. There's people who, for all my friends and family, I have zero expectations. I don't expect you to call me. I don't expect you to say you love me. I don't expect you to be there for me. I'm gonna be there for you, and that's it. I can only give. It goes back to what I was thinking about love. Like, el amor es dar, no esperar nada a cambio. So, just don't expectations, and whatever happens, you're gonna see it face value. And you're gonna be like, you know what, that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and then you could go into gratitude.
Yeah, because even if you have that mindset, even in a bad situation, you'll see it as a learning opportunity, right? Like, you'll get to that sort of like, oh, that sucked, but at least I know not to do this.
A learning opportunity, yeah, and it's that growth mindset. So I'm glad you brought up that expectations.
Yeah, happiness is life minus expectations. I'm a math teacher, so I have to put it in.
I like that equation. Life is
happiness is life minus expectations.
El book Happiness Hypothesis tiene... Y aquí está. Fuck, I can't even open it up.
Sí, está ahí para la cámara para alzarla, ¿no?
Tiene una... tiene un pinche... Un fórmula también de happiness.
¿Ah, sí?
Te la debo.
Me la debes. Pero, ¿qué más?
Nada, güey. Ya. Se hizo el ¿qué show?
¿Qué show? Hay dejarnos con una song recommendation.
Oh, shit. No me la esperaba, güey.
Pues ya sabes que la gente se la está esperando, güey. nos han mandado. No, shout out to the people who've been like hitting us up and saying that they're enjoying this, dude. Like,
really appreciate you.
Yeah, grateful.
Güey, no sé, rola, güey.
Yo empiezo, pues. Una rola que ahorita estoy just looping se llama Sunday Soda by the French Cassettes. Sunday Soda by the French Cassettes. Estos vatos son de San Francisco. Well, I think they were all from different areas, but I think their like adopted hometown is San Francisco, which I just sort of moved away from the Bay Area, so maybe it's like me missing being there. But they're good. It sounds good. It's very like it's just a good sound. He has a good melody, little bass line there with the guitar. Está vergas, güey. Sí, y tiene una line que es like it sort of fades out with this line at the end. It says, "And I don't mind waiting for a long time for patience." And I was like, oh shit, like that's interesting. Like sometimes you just like it. I think it could, to me, it sort of sounds like the progress that this person is trying to make. Like you're trying to be patient, or you're trying to be grateful, or you're trying to be happy. Sometimes you have to wait. Like it's not gonna come. It takes work, you know. Being patient is really hard. It takes time. Bro. Ironically, it takes so much time to learn to be patient.
Yeah.
And so that line really stuck out to me, and it's a good tune.
Dude, te odio, güey, porque you were probably thinking of, you already had the song, pero me agarraste esa curva y no. I don't know, you know what, cuando te hace una pregunta, and out of nowhere, it's like,
sí, no he escuchado música.
¿Música? ¿Qué es eso?
¿Qué es eso? Pero dime una banda que has escuchado últimamente.
Güey, I've been obsessed with Enjambre.
Okay.
Enjambre es una banda ya viejilla, güey, pero siempre la escuchaba. I don't know if I have some music saved, pero acaban de sacar un álbum and I've just been on Enjambre, güey, and they have like a particular sound that it's different, but I don't know if I want to recommend Enjambre.
Ya, puro Enjambre de aquí para adelante.
Sí, la neta sí.
#Enjambre 2021.
Sí, ok, Enjambre hay una rola que se llama Luz en tus manos. Y la primera vez que lo escuché, no me gustó. Oh, no, sí me gustó, pero dije, could be better.
Es como pinche deficit thinking, güey.
Sí, güey.
Estuve comiendo tus tacos, le faltan salsa y esta rola, vale verga.
Sí, güey. Pero con el tiempo la seguí escuchando acá y dije, wow, joyita. Y para los que realmente se quedan a escuchar y... Está muy buena. Luz en tus manos, creo que se llama. Creo que se llama. Madre, se las debo. No, pero creo que sí se llama Luz en tus manos.
Pues ahí quedó,
bro. Se cuidan. Que show ha terminado.
Que show. Nos guachamos, gente.